The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. While Jesus was speaking to the crowds, his mother and his brothers appeared outside, wishing to speak with him. Someone told him, "Your mother and your brothers are standing outside, asking to speak with you." But he said in reply to the one who told him, "Who is my mother? Who are my brothers?" And stretching out his hand toward his disciples, he said, "Here are my mother and my brothers. For whoever does the will of my heavenly Father is my brother and sister and mother." The Gospel of the Lord. Yeah, this is a tough little read, and especially because we get it somewhat out of context. I think we miss the serious and, of course, somewhat severe implications of what Jesus is saying. Immediately prior to this, Jesus talks about an exorcism of a man, and his house is swept clean. But what good is it if, simply being swept clean, more demons return, right? 7 demons return to possess the man. And what Jesus is doing there is using that image to give some sense of the story of Israel, that they have been committed to any number of reform agendas, or they've seen reform agendas roughly contemporaneous with him, a little bit before, and then of course then in the Pharisees, who have their own kind of purity agenda, like the house being swept clean. This is a fixation for people, right? We need to purify ourselves. We need this house swept clean if God is to return to us, right? We've had all these kind of agendas, the rebuilding of the temple, and yet God is not there. So what is it? How do we go about, I don't know, our business, not only to have God's presence return to us as a people, but as a people to kind of soldier on into our own dreams and ambitions, right? The fulfillment of our ambitions and the like. So Jesus is saying we have to be very careful with the idea that a reform agenda is going to get us there, because if we have simply the house being swept clean without it being established, right, at the very center of the project being well established, then any number of other centers can creep in there. So I don't know, I say, if God does not inhabit the center of that particular reform agenda, then the counterfeit gods of the reform agendas will themselves take hold in the place. And I don't know what kind of mix of, counterfeit gods or the worship gone awry is happening around Jesus' time. But we can be pretty convinced that the destruction of Jerusalem in 70 AD is part and parcel of the outworking of that idolatry. And is it a matter of national prosperity? I mean, there are counterfeit gods also, not simply like on the personal level, but also on more of a communal level, or even on a national level. What is it that the people are striving for most ardently, and how does that lead them into really a battle that they were never going to win, right? This is kind of the blindness also of the worship of counterfeit gods. You set the wrong center of your heart and life, you're going to die on the wrong hill, right? You're going to wage the wrong battles, and this is just the nature of things. So this is all happening in the passage immediately prior to the one that we see today, which then makes Jesus's his exhortation all the more strong when he's talking about who is my mother, who are my brothers, right? It's because there are a couple of things going on. One is that Jesus is rebuilding the family of God, and in the family of God, the most important thing, I was going to say the only thing of importance, it's not the only thing of importance. The most decisive quality of the person gathered into the family of God is doing the will of God. Yeah, and this is then what makes us brothers and sisters of Jesus. It makes us part of the renewed family of God. So all what the renewal agendas are trying to accomplish in and around the time of Jesus fall short because they don't have worship of the true and living God at the very center. But Jesus is rebuilding a nation. He's rebuilding a people. And that people is formed by having the true and living God at the very center of their personal, familial, communal, and national life. That has to be us too. God, the true and living God, the God revealed to us in and as Jesus of Nazareth, has to be the very center of our hearts and lives. The God of, I would say this, the God of relentless love. Do you know what I mean? Relentless love? Like relentless sounds obnoxious, right? But God is obnoxious in his love. Okay? Write that down. God is, why? Because he won't stop it. Do you know? It's like, people, I mean, many of you have children, like when they're very young, they're haggling you, or they're after you all the time, right? It's just, mom, right? So, this is it. The God who is relentless in love. He won't give up. He's obnoxious in love. Why? Because he's loving when you prefer him not to be. Yeah, he's not giving up in that sense. He won't give up till he has your whole heart. And he won't give up then either. There's no turning it off. He's going to keep going until he's got everything. And what is the response? What is the proper response to this God who pursues you all the way to the end? It's to entrust ourselves to him and to do to give ourselves over to his will. And his will is nothing other than love. His will is nothing other than love. And we're made to give ourselves over to him. And if we give ourselves over to him, if we commit ourselves to him and to his will, which is nothing other than love, then we will truly be Jesus's brothers and sisters, part of the new family of God, and advancing the only reform agenda that's worth advancing.